My cancer report was on the table for 3 days, but my family acted like they didn't see it. So I sold my company and all my properties and moved to a new city. When they realized, they freaked out, but their actions were questionable. Hello. Thank you for your continuous support. This means a lot to us. If you enjoy the stories we share, kindly subscribe to this channel. It will be great if you can leave a comment on which city you are watching from. We might just give you a shout out in our next story. Today's special shout out goes to Alex Burns from Hull, UK. We are glad you enjoy our stories. Now let's dive into the details of today's story. I'd always been the guy who fixed things. Broken pipes, broken dreams, broken promises didn't matter. For 30 years, I'd held my family together with calloused hands and a quiet nod. When my wife, Marie, died in that wreck 20 years back, I didn't crumble. I couldn't. Mark was 16, Lisa 13, and they needed me. So I built a construction company from nothing, turned a toolbox into a legacy. Paid for Mark's engineering degree when he flunked his first semester. Cleared Lisa's credit card debt when she maxed it out on clothes she never wore. My brother Pete? I kept his bar afloat with loans he never repaid. My sister Carol? I managed her bills after her deadbeat husband split. I didn't ask for thanks. It was just what I did. That fall, though, everything shifted. I'd been feeling off, tired, stiff, like my body was betraying me. Doc ordered tests. I didn't think much of it until the phone rang on a Tuesday morning. James, he said, voice flat, it's prostate cancer. Stage 3. Reports in the mail. I sat there, receiver buzzing in my hand, staring at the kitchen wall. Stage 3. Not a death sentence, but close enough to make you flinch. I didn't cry, didn't yell, just hung up and went back to frying eggs for Mark, who was crashing on my couch again. The report came the next day. Thick envelope, official stamp. I slid it open and spread the pages across the dining room table, charts, numbers, words like aggressive and treatment options. It sat there, glaring at me, daring someone to notice. I didn't say a word. Couldn't. My throat locked up every time I tried. I figured they'd see it. Mark, Lisa, Pete, Carol. Someone would ask. They had to. Day 1, Mark shuffled in, bleary-eyed from a late night. He'd been whining about a bid he lost, expecting me to fix it like always. He grabbed a beer from the fridge, glanced at the table, and muttered, "More paperwork, huh?" Didn't even sit down. Just took the beer and flopped back on the couch, scrolling his phone. I stood by the sink, gripping the counter, waiting for him to look again. He didn't. Day 2, Lisa breezed through. She'd been dodging her landlord, rent was late, and she'd borrowed from me last month to cover it. She perched at the table, flipping her hair, complaining about her boss. The report was right there, inches from her elbow. She nudged it aside to set down her coffee mug, skimmed the top page, and frowned. "Dad, you really need to organize this stuff," she said, like it was junk mail. Then she was gone, off to meet some guy she'd dump in a week. I watched her go, my chest tight, my voice stuck somewhere deep. Day 3, Pete and Carol showed up together, a rare double hit. Pete needed cash. His bar was bleeding money again. Carol wanted me to call her bank, sort out some late fees. They sat at the table, Pete's boots scuffing the floor, Carol's purse plopped right on the report. They talked over each other, Pete griping about suppliers, Carol moaning about her arthritis. I stood there, arms crossed, staring at that envelope peeking out from under her bag. "You see anything else on that table?" I wanted to ask, but I didn't. I poured them coffee instead, listened to their noise, and felt the silence in me grow louder. That night, I sat alone. The house was dark, just the hum of the fridge and the tick of the clock. The report glowed under the kitchen light, 3 days, untouched, unread. I traced the words with my finger, prostate cancer. Stage 3. I'd built their lives, brick by brick, and they couldn't see me breaking. Mark was still on the couch, snoring. Lisa hadn't called back. Pete and Carol were probably at the bar, spending money I didn't give them. I leaned back, the chair creaking under me, and something snapped, not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet crack inside. "I can't do this anymore," I whispered. The words hung there, small but heavy. I didn't mean the cancer, not really. I meant them. 30 years of carrying them, and they didn't even look. I've been a ghost in my own house, a wallet with legs, a voice they tuned out. I thought of Marie, how she'd seen me, really seen me, until that truck took her. These people? They didn't deserve what I'd given them. I stood up, slow, deliberate. The report stayed where it was. I didn't need to hide it anymore. They'd never find it unless it bit them. I walked to my room, pulled an old army photo from the drawer, me at 20, grinning with buddies in the mountains. I'd always wanted to go back there, to those peaks where the air was sharp and the world made sense. Maybe I still could. Sleep didn't come easy that night. My mind churned, anger, fear, a strange flicker of something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom, maybe. By morning, I knew what I had to do. They'd had their chance. 3 days, 3 strikes. I wasn't waiting for a fourth. I grabbed my keys, my jacket, and started planning. Not a word to them, not yet. They'd figure it out when I was gone. I woke up on day 4 with a fire in my gut. Not the kind that warms you. It was sharp, restless, like I'd swallowed a live wire. The report still sat on the table, a silent witness to their indifference. I didn't touch it. Let it rot there. I'd made up my mind in the dark hours before dawn. I was done carrying them. 30 years was enough. First thing, I called my lawyer, Ed. He'd been with me since the company started, knew every deal, every dollar. James, you sure? He asked when I told him the plan. Dead sure, I said. I had him draw up papers to shove my properties, 2 rental homes, and that warehouse on 5th, into a trust. No one could touch them. Not Mark, not Lisa, not Pete or Carol. Next, I rang Tom, my partner at Grayson Construction. Buy me out, I told him. He didn't argue. Knew I wasn't bluffing. By noon, he'd wired me a chunk of cash that'd keep me going for years. I didn't haggle. I just wanted out. Packing was quick. I grabbed a duffel bag from the closet, old army issue, faded green, and stuffed it with what mattered. Jeans, flannel shirts, my fishing rod, that knife I'd carried in Nam. No photos, no keepsakes. Marie's memory lived in my head, not in frames they'd ignored. I walked past the table one last time, the report staring up at me. I scribbled a note on a scrap of paper. I'm taking a break, and dropped it next to the envelope. No details, no goodbyes. They didn't deserve them. My truck was in the driveway, a beat-up Ford I'd nursed through a decade of jobs. I tossed the bag in the back, climbed in, and fired it up. Mark was still on the couch, snoring through a hangover. I didn't wake him. Lisa hadn't been by since her coffee stunt. Pete and Carol? Probably scheming somewhere. I pulled out, tires crunching gravel, and didn't look back. The house shrank in the rear view, a box I'd outgrown. I hit the highway heading west. No map, just a memory. Back in '65, I'd trained in the mountains, rugged peaks, quiet valleys, air that cut through the noise. I'd always told myself I'd go back someday. Now was someday. 300 miles stretched ahead, and every one felt like shedding a weight. I cranked the radio, some old Merle Haggard tune, and let my mind drift. Mark's whining about his bids. Lisa's excuses for missing rent. Pete's bar tabs. Carol's endless calls. I'd been their mule, hauling their messes, and they'd never once asked if I was tired. About an hour in, my phone buzzed. Mark, probably, or Lisa sniffing for cash. I didn't check. I rolled down the window, grabbed the damn thing, and chucked it onto the asphalt. It smashed under a semi's wheels, gone. No more tether. My hands tightened on the steering wheel, and I laughed, first time in months. It felt good, reckless, like I just punched through a wall. The miles blurred by. I stopped once for gas and a burger, kept moving. By late afternoon, the mountains loomed ahead, gray and jagged, cutting the sky. I rolled into a town called Pine Hollow, a speck of a place with a diner, a bar, and not much else. A sign read cabin for rent, outside a dusty office. I pulled over, stepped out, and stretched. My back ached, my legs creaked, but I felt alive. The guy behind the desk was older than me, grizzled, with a voice like gravel. How long you staying? He asked, eyeing my bag. Long as I need, I said. He didn't push. Handed me a key, pointed me to a cabin a mile up the road. Got a view, he grunted. I paid cash, no questions, and drove off. The cabin was small, wood walls, a porch, a stove that looked older than I was. It sat on a ridge overlooking a valley, all pines and rock. I dropped my bag inside, stepped onto the porch, and just stood there. No voices, no demands, just the hum of wind through the trees. I'd done it. Left them behind. Cut the rope. I unpacked that night, slow and deliberate. Hung my shirts in a closet that smelled of cedar. Set the fishing rod by the door. Slid the knife onto a shelf. I didn't have a plan beyond that treatment. Sure, I'd figure it out, but for once, I didn't need one. I'd call the doc tomorrow, find a clinic. Tonight, though, was mine. I sat on the porch with a beer from the gas station, watching the sun dip below the peaks. My chest still hurt, not the cancer, not yet, but the weight of what I'd walked away from. I thought about that report, still on the table. They'd find it eventually, or they wouldn't. Didn't matter. I wasn't their fix-it man anymore. Sleep came hard, the silence too loud after years of chaos. I dreamed of Marie, not her death, but her laugh, sharp and bright, like she was cheering me on. I woke before dawn, the cabin dark, my breath fogging in the chill. I lay there, listening to nothing, and realized something. They didn't know I was gone. Not yet. Mark was probably still on the couch. Lisa hadn't noticed the rent drying up. Pete and Carol were too busy griping to care. I grinned in the dark. Let them figure it out. Let them scramble. I'd given them 3 days to see me, and they'd failed. Now I was 300 miles away, and they had no idea what was coming. I'd been gone 3 weeks when the world I'd left behind started to crack. I didn't see it happen, didn't need to. I could picture it clear as day, every shout, every curse, every tear. They'd had me as their glue for so long, they didn't know how to stand without leaning. And I wasn't there to catch them anymore. Back in that suburb I'd fled, Mark woke up on my couch one morning, probably scratching his head when he realized I hadn't made coffee. He'd been crashing there off and on since his latest job tanked, some engineering gig he botched because he couldn't show up on time. I'd always bailed him out, patched his bids, smoothed his messes. Not this time. He'd find the note I'd left. I'm taking a break and shrug it off. Figured I was at a site, barking orders at some crew. That's how little he knew me. Lisa, she didn't notice either. She'd been too busy flitting between boyfriends and her dead-end retail job to check in. I'd paid her rent last month, like always, when she'd blown her paycheck on a purse she'd bragged about. She'd assume I was off with Carol, maybe, or just holed up working. The thought of me gone, really gone, wouldn't cross her mind. Not yet. Pete and Carol, they were the same. Pete was probably behind the bar, pouring shots and dodging creditors, counting on me to swoop in with another loan. Carol was likely on her couch, flipping through bills she couldn't pay, waiting for me to call the bank and fix it. They'd all coasted on my back for years. Pete since his bar opened, Carol since her divorce. I'd never said no. Until now. It took the money drying up to wake them. Mark got the first hit. He'd been banking on me to fund a new project, some strip mall deal he'd pitched half drunk. When the deposit didn't come, he called my phone. Nothing. Dead air. Lisa felt it next. Her landlord banging on her door. No check for me to cover her. Pete's supplier cut him off when my usual emergency cash didn't show. Carol's lights flickered. Late fees piling up. No brother to sort it out. That's when they started looking. Mark found the note first. He'd stumbled into the kitchen, hungover, hunting for aspirin. Saw my scribble on the table, right next to that report. He'd read it, maybe, then tossed it aside. Taking a break, he'd mutter, "Old man's losing it." But then Lisa showed up, panicked about her rent, and they dug deeper. The report was still there, 3 weeks old, crumpled under a pizza box, coffee stains bleeding through the pages. Prostate cancer. Stage 3. The words hit them like a brick. I could see it. Mark's jaw dropping, Lisa's eyes welling up. What the hell? Mark would have yelled. He's sick? Since when? Lisa would have grabbed the envelope, shaking, flipping through pages she didn't understand. We didn't know, she'd say, voice cracking. He didn't tell us. But I had. I'd left it there, screaming in black and white, and they'd walked past it. For 3 days, they'd had their chance. The house turned into a war zone. Mark called a meeting, dragged Lisa, Pete, and Carol in, all of them shouting over each other. I wasn't there, but I knew how it went. Mark slamming the table, blaming Lisa for not checking on me. "You were here last," he'd roar. Lisa sobbing, pointing at Pete. "You stressed him out with your stupid bar." Pete firing back. "He's fine. He's just pissed." Carol, "You talk to him." Carol, clutching her purse, whining, "I didn't do anything. He's always been stubborn." Round and round. a circus of guilt and denial. They tried me, my phone, my email, even the office. Mark called Tom, my old partner, who just said, he's out. Sold his share. Don't know where. Lisa drove to the warehouse, found it locked, a new name on the lease. Pete hit the bar I used to drink at, nothing. Carol left voicemails I'd never hear, her voice shrill through a dead line. They were scrambling, clawing at shadows, and I was 300 miles away, sipping coffee on a porch they'd never find. Mark took charge, like he always thought he could. Hired a private investigator with money he didn't have, probably borrowed it from Pete. Find him, he'd said, tossing the report at the guy. He's sick, he's lost it. Lisa tagged along, driving to my old haunts, hardware stores, job sites, that diner I liked. She'd sit in her car, crying, clutching her phone like I'd magically call back. Pete and Carol stayed home, bickering over who'd screwed up worse. You should have seen it, Pete would snap. You're the big sister. Carol firing back. You owed him more than any of us. They didn't get it. Not then. They thought I'd cracked, run off in some tantrum. They didn't see the truth. I'd been breaking for years, and they'd never looked up. Mark's projects, Lisa's debts, Pete's bar, Carol's bills. I'd carried them all, and they'd taken it for granted. Now the ground was gone, and they were falling. I wasn't there to watch, but I felt it. That third week in the cabin, I'd wake up sometimes, middle of the night, and just know they'd found it. They were panicking. Good. Let them. I'd given them everything, and they'd given me nothing. Not a glance, not a question. 3 days, that report sat there, and they'd failed the test. I'd sit on my porch those nights, staring at the valley, and wonder how long it'd take them to figure out I wasn't coming back. They'd dig. They'd fight. They'd chase. And I'd be here, waiting not for them, but for me. I'd been in Pine Hollow a month when I started feeling like a man again. Not a mule, not a bank, just James. The cabin was mine, paid up with cash from the company's sale, and it fit me like an old boot. Small, rough, no frills. I didn't need more. The valley stretched out below, a quiet sprawl of pines and rock that didn't ask anything of me. For the first time in decades, I wasn't fixing someone else's mess. Treatment started quick. I found a clinic 20 miles out, a squat building with a nurse who didn't sugarcoat things. Chemo's gonna kick your ass, she said, hooking me up that first day. She wasn't wrong. I drive back after, get churning, head pounding, and collapse on the couch I dragged to the porch. But I didn't complain. It was my fight now, not theirs. Doc said stage 3 wasn't a death warrant if I stuck it out. So I did. Days took on a rhythm. Mornings, I'd fish the stream below the ridge, trout mostly, slippery and stubborn. I'd sit on a rock, line in the water, and let my mind go blank. No Mark nagging about bits. No Lisa whining for rent. Just the ripple of current and the tug of a catch. I'd fry what I caught, eat alone at a table I'd built from scrapwood. Simple. Mine. Afternoons, I'd carve. Found a knife sharpener in town and started whittling blocks I'd scavenged, pine, mostly, soft enough to shape. I'd sit on the porch, blade in hand, turning chunks into birds, fish, whatever came to mind. It wasn't art, not really, just something to do. But it steadied me. Kept my hands busy when the chemo fog rolled in. I wasn't alone, not entirely. Pine Hollow had a VFW hall, a brick box with a flag out front. I'd been Army, 64 to 68, and those guys got it. First time I walked in, a grizzled vet named Hank sized me up. "Nom?" he asked. I nodded. "Me too," he said, and that was that. No pity, no questions, just a beer slid my way. We'd sit, swap stories about mud and M16S, not cancer or kids. They listened when I let slip about leaving, didn't judge, just nodded. "Family's a bitch sometimes," Hank said once. I grunted. He was right. Then there was Ellen. She lived down the road, a widow with a tongue like a whip. First day, she marched up with a coffee pot, said she'd seen me move in and figured I was too dumb to brew my own. "Don't get ideas," she snapped, shoving it at me. "I'm not your maid." I liked her right off. She'd drop by now and then, always with some jab. "You look like hell, Grayson," but she'd stay talk. Told me about her husband, dead 5 years, and how she'd learned to live solo. "You don't need M," she said one day, meaning my family. I didn't argue. Nights I'd write, not letters to send, just pages I'd burn later. I'd sit by the stove, pen scratching, spilling 30 years of bile. To Mark, you never once asked how I was. To Lisa, I wasn't your damn ATM. To Pete, that bar's your grave, not mine. To Carol, grow up. I'd read them back, then toss them in the fire. Watch the flames eat the words. It wasn't forgiveness, just release. I thought about them less as the weeks rolled on. They were out there, probably tearing each other apart, but I didn't care. I'd left that report on the table like a bomb, and it had gone off by now. Good. Let them feel the blast. I'd given them everything. Money, time, my damn soul. And they'd given me 3 days of nothing. Here, I had something. A life. Small, scratched out, but mine. One afternoon, I finished a carving, a wooden eagle, wings spread, rough but proud. I set it on the mantel, stepped back, and stared. This is mine, I thought. Not theirs. Not shared. Just me. I'd built a company once. Homes, futures, always for them. This was different. This was proof I could still make something, even with poison in my veins. The chemo hit harder some days. I'd wake up weak, knees buckling, and curse the cancer for trying to drag me back. But I'd push through. Fish, carve, talk to Hank or Ellen. I wasn't done. Not yet. The clinic nurse said I was holding steady. Tumor hadn't spread. Keep fighting, she'd say. I planned to. I'd sit on the porch at dusk, beer in hand, watching the valley turn gold. Thought about Marie more than the others. She'd have loved this place. Quiet, wild, no one pulling at her. I missed her sharp laugh, the way she'd call me out when I took on too much. You're not Superman, James, she'd say. She was right. I tried to be, and it had hollowed me out. Now I was just a man, and that was enough. I knew they'd come eventually. Mark, Lisa, Pete, Carol, they wouldn't let go that easy. They'd dig, hunt, show up with their noise and their needs. I felt it in my bones, an itch I couldn't scratch. But I wasn't the same guy they'd ignored. I'd found something here. Strength, maybe, or just peace. When they came, I'd be ready. That night, I dreamed of the mountains, not Nam, but these peaks. I was climbing, alone, no weight on my back. Woke up grinning, first time in years. I didn't know what was next. Treatment, sure, maybe more carvings. Didn't matter. I'd figure it out. For once, it was my call. After 5 months, they found me. Winter had settled in, a thin layer of snow dusting the valley, and I'd gotten used to the quiet. Chemo was a grind, but I was holding, carving, fishing, jawing with Hank at the VFW. I'd built a life, small but solid, and I thought maybe they'd given up. I was wrong. It was a Saturday, late afternoon. I was out back, splitting wood with an axe I'd sharpened that morning. The rhythm felt good. Swing, crack, stack. Kept my mind off the ache in my bones. Then I heard it, tires crunching up the dirt road, too fast for Ellen's old sedan. I straightened, axe in hand, and saw Mark's truck barreling toward the cabin. My gut twisted. They tracked me down. The truck skidded to a stop, and they piled out Mark, Lisa, Pete, Carol, like a damn invasion. Mark led the charge, face red, eyes wild. Lisa trailed, clutching her coat, tears already streaking her mascara. Pete hung back, hands in his pockets, looking sour. Carol shuffled last, purse swinging, lips pursed like she'd sucked a lemon. I didn't move. Just stood there, axe resting on my shoulder, watching them come. Dad, Mark bellowed, stomping up. What the hell is this? You just disappeared. He waved a hand at the cabin like it was a crime scene. Lisa rushed in behind him, voice breaking. We've been worried sick. Why didn't you tell us? Pete muttered something about the bar, and Carol chimed in. This is ridiculous, James, running off like a child. I let them yell. Watched their breath fog in the cold, their words piling up like trash. 5 months I'd been gone, and they still didn't get it. I waited till they ran out of steam, Mark panting, Lisa sniffling, Pete and Carol glaring. Then I spoke, low and steady. I did tell you. Left it on the table. 3 days, it sat there. You didn't look. Mark blinked, thrown. What are you talking about? Lisa's eyes widened, like she was piecing it together. I stepped forward, axe still in hand, and kept going. Cancer. Stage 3. Report came 5 months ago. I put it right where you'd see it. Mark, you walked by it. Lisa, you shoved it aside. Pete, Carol, you sat on it. 3 days, I waited. Not one of you asked. Silence hit like a hammer. Lisa's hand flew to her mouth, a sob choking out. Mark's jaw worked, no sound coming. Pete shifted, staring at his boots. Carol clutched her purse tighter, muttering, "You should have said something." I laughed, a hard, bitter bark. I did. You didn't hear. Mark recovered first, stepping closer. Okay, fine, we screwed up. But running off? Selling everything? That's insane. We need you, Dad. Lisa nodded, tears spilling. Please, come home. We'll fix this. Pete piped up. Yeah, I'm drowning at the bar. Need your help. Carol added, I can't manage alone, James, you know that. I looked at them, my kids, my brother, my sister, and saw it clear. They weren't here for me. They were here for what I'd always given them. Money, fixes, a shoulder to lean on. I'd been their crutch for 30 years, and they still didn't see the man holding it up. I tightened my grip on the axe, not to swing, just to feel it. No, I said. Mark flinched. What do you mean? No. I met his eyes, then Lisa's, then the others. I needed you. Not your tears, not your promises back then, when that report hit. I waited 3 days for one of you to notice. You didn't. I'm done begging for it. Lisa broke down, dropping to her knees in the snow. I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't know. Mark grabbed my arm, desperate. Let me stay. I'll take care of you, nurse you through this. I shook him off. Got a nurse. Don't need you. Pete stepped up, voice sharp. So that's it? You're ditching us? After everything? Carol nodded. Selfish, James. Pure selfish. I turned the axe, planted it blade down in the dirt, and leaned on it. Selfish? I gave you 30 years. Built your lives, Mark's degree, Lisa's rent, Pete's bar, Carol's bills. I lost Marie, kept going, never asked for a damn thing. You couldn't give me 3 days. I'm not your mule anymore. They stared, stunned. Lisa reached out, voice small. Please, Dad. I'll change. Let me try. I looked at her, my little girl, all grown up and still lost. Something softened in me, just a crack. Text me, I said. We'll see. Her face lit up, hopeful. Mark scowled. That's it? Texts? I nodded. That's all you get. Pete threw up his hands. Screw this. I'm out. He stormed to the truck. Carol followed, huffing, ungrateful. Mark lingered, fist clenched, then spat, You're a bastard for this. He turned away. Lisa stayed a second longer, whispering, I'm so sorry, before trailing after them. I watched the truck peel out, dust and snow kicking up. My chest ached. Not the cancer, but something deeper. They'd come with their noise, their demands, and left with nothing. I'd stood my ground. First time in years, maybe ever, I hadn't bent. I picked up the axe, swung it once, split a log clean through. The crack echoed off the ridge. They were gone, and I was still here. Not their James, mine. I stacked the wood, slow and steady, and felt the weight lift, just a little. They'd lost me, and I'd found something better. I stood on my porch that night after they left, axe still in hand, watching the taillights of Mark's truck fade down the road. The valley was dark, the snow glowing faint under a half moon. My chest felt raw, not from the cancer, not anymore, but from saying what I'd held in for 30 years. They'd come, they'd yelled, they'd begged, and I'd sent them packing. For once, I hadn't buckled. Winter turned to spring in Pine Hollow. The snow melted, the stream swelled, and I kept going. Chemo was still a beast. Some days I'd barely drag myself out of bed, muscles screaming, head thick with fog. But I'd push through. Clinic nurse said I was steady. Tumor hadn't grown, hadn't shrunk either. You're a fighter, she'd grunt, adjusting the 4. I'd nod. Had to be. Life settled into something real. Mornings, I'd fish when I could, pulling trout from the water with a flick of my wrist. Afternoons, I'd carve. Eagles, fish, a bear once, each one sharper than the last. I'd sit on the porch, knife slicing wood, and feel the world shrink to just me and the blade. No voices in my head but my own. Hank and the VFW boys kept me grounded. Friday nights, we'd drink, talk about old wars, new scars. They didn't pry about the showdown, just slapped my back and said, good for you. Ellen stuck around too. She'd stomp up with a pie one day, apple, tart as her tongue, and a thermos of coffee the next. "You're still alive," she'd say, eyeing me like I might keel over. "Barely," I'd shoot back. She'd laugh, sit a while, tell me about her garden or her husband's old truck she'd fixed. She didn't ask about my family, and I didn't offer. Didn't need to. She got it. Sometimes you cut ties to breathe. Lisa texted now and then. First one came a week after they'd stormed off. "I'm sorry, Dad. Can we talk?" I'd stared at it, thumb hovering, then typed, "Maybe." She kept at it, short messages, nothing heavy. "Got a new job. Paid my rent this month." I'd reply, "Good," or "Keep it up." She was trying. I'd give her that. More than the others ever did. Mark sent a letter once, stiff, half-assed apology, all blame and no guts. I tossed it in the stove, watched it curl to ash. Pete and Carol? Nothing. They'd faded like smoke, and I didn't chase them. I thought about that report sometimes, how it had sat on that table back home. 5 months since I'd left it there, a test they'd flunked. I didn't wonder what they'd done with it, probably still rotting under Mark's pizza boxes. Didn't matter. It had done its job, showed me who they were, who I wasn't anymore. I'd carried them too long, built their lives while mine crumbled. Now I was building something else. One evening, early spring, I sat on the porch with a fresh block of pine. Sun was dipping low, turning the valley gold. I'd been feeling decent, chemo round done, strength creeping back. I picked up my knife, started carving. No plan, just let my hands move. Chips fell, wood took shape. I thought about Marie, her laugh, her eyes, how she'd have loved this place. "You're free now," she'd have said. I smiled. She was right. The others crossed my mind too, but not like before. Mark was out there, probably scrambling to save his latest flop. Lisa, maybe growing up, maybe not. Pete's bar was likely sunk, his problem now. Carol, still whining to anyone who'd listen. They'd lost me, and I'd let them. Didn't hate them, didn't love them less, just didn't need them anymore. I'd given 30 years, and they'd given me 3 days of nothing. This was my time now. I finished the carving as the light faded, a figure, rough but clear. A man standing, head up, no weight on his shoulders. Me, maybe, or who I was becoming. I set it on the mantel next to the eagle, stepped back, and looked. 2 pieces, 2 months apart, but they fit. Proof I was still here, still making something. Ellen showed up then, pie in hand, cherry this time. "You're brooding," she said, plopping it on the table. "I am not," I grunted, grabbing a fork. She smirked, sat across from me. "Saw that truck leave a while back. Your kin." I nodded, chewing. "Gone now." She didn't push, just poured coffee. We ate in silence, the kind that didn't need filling. When she left, she said, "Don't die on me, Grayson." I laughed, not planning to. That night, I slept deep, no dreams, just rest. Woke to birds chirping, sun cutting through the pines. I felt it then, something solid, not fleeting. I wasn't whole, not with cancer gnawing at me, but I was enough. More than I'd been in years. I'd fought for this, left them, found this place, stood my ground. They'd come with their noise, and I'd sent them away. Now I was here, alive, on my terms. I stepped onto the porch, coffee in hand, and looked at the valley. My valley. I'd keep fighting chemo, life, whatever came. Maybe Lisa'd stick around, maybe not. Didn't matter. I'd carve more, fish more, sit with Hank and Ellen. Build what I wanted, not what they needed. I set the mug down, picked up a new block of wood, and grabbed my knife. The first cut was clean, deliberate. I didn't know what it'd be yet, didn't need to. I'd figure it out, same as I'd figured out the rest. I was James Grayson, not their James, not anymore. Just me. And that was plenty. And that's James Grayson's story, walking away, finding himself, carving a new path. What do you think? Did he make the right call? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if this hit home for you, smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. We've got more stories like this coming your way. See you in the next one.